I never thought moving into Maplewood Estates would end with the HOA president screaming in the middle of the street, her face, her hair, her perfect pink blazer drenched in purple and yellow dye she could never wash off. It sounds insane, I know. But when someone steals from you over and over, hides behind a title, and thinks they're untouchable, at some point something inside you snaps. When I moved into Maplewood, I was just looking for peace. A clean slate after my divorce, a quiet place for my daughter when she visited on weekends. The lawns were perfect. The mailboxes matched, people waved politely. It felt safe, almost too safe, like a movie set pretending to be real life. For a while it was fine, until my packages started disappearing. The first time I thought it was a delivery mistake, a small box with a scarf I'd ordered for my daughter's birthday. Never arrived. Then a week later my medication vanished. Then a set of tools. 3 boxes gone in a month. I shrugged it off at first, but by the 4th one I knew it wasn't coincidence, it was a pattern. So I installed a doorbell camera. Just a cheap one. I figured it would give me peace of mind. Instead, it gave me the truth. The footage popped up on my phone one morning. I hit play, expecting to see the delivery guy, maybe a raccoon. But there she was. Sophia Wilson, the HOA president herself. Blonde ponytail, pink blazer, that practiced smile she wore like armor. She looked left, right, then strolled up to my porch, picked up my box, tucked it under her arm, and walked away like she was collecting tribute. I watched the clip again and again, my disbelief slowly turning into anger. This woman ran our neighborhood. She was in every HOA newsletter, every meeting, the so-called guardian of community standards. And she was stealing packages mine. I took the video to my neighbor George, a retired cop with bad knees and a good sense of justice. He watched it, rubbed his chin, and said quietly, "Yeah, that's her. But John, you sure you want to pick this fight? She's powerful around here. Writes the rules." He was right. Sophia was powerful. Within days of me filing a report, I found a bright yellow notice pinned to my door. Violation mailbox, not HOA compliant. 2 days later. Grass exceeds height limit. Then another. Trash can visible past collection hours. It was harassment dressed up as paperwork. I realized she wasn't just stealing things from porches, she was stealing peace of mind. When I confronted her during the next HOA meeting, she didn't even flinch. "Mr. Davis," she said, smiling for the crowd, "perhaps you misinterpreted what you saw." I was retrieving misdelivered packages for safekeeping. Her tone was syrupy sweet, but her eyes were knives. "If you continue spreading false accusations, we'll have to consider this harassment." I looked around the room. Every other board member stared at the table, afraid to speak. That's when it hit me. She didn't rule through leadership, she ruled through fear. Over the next week, I watched my camera feed obsessively. More packages vanished. Not just mine, neighbors started whispering that their deliveries were missing too. One night I got a message from Mrs. Chen, the elderly lady down the street. She took my granddaughter's birthday present. I saw her. I was too scared to speak. That message broke something in me. I'd tried being polite, reasonable, but I was done watching this woman use her position as a shield. I started gathering evidence, timestamps, videos, receipts. But the police said the same thing every time. Without proof she intended to steal, it's a civil matter. Civil matter. That phrase felt like a punchline to a bad joke. Then came the point where I almost gave up. It was late, my house quiet, the street bathed in that artificial calm of suburbia. I sat in the dark, watching the footage again, asking myself, am I crazy? Is this worth it? Maybe I should just move. But then I thought about my daughter and about Mrs. Chen's trembling voice, about how silence is what people like Sophia feed on. And in that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to play by her rules anymore. I called my old college roommate Brian. He's a security systems engineer now. When I told him my problem, he laughed. "You're talking about die packs, right? Like the kind banks use on robbers." Exactly. We spent hours on the phone designing a homemade version non-toxic but permanent. A mix of UV reactive dye and a binding compound that clings to skin and hair for days, the kind of stain that screams guilt. That weekend my garage looked like a mad scientist's lab. My first test exploded early, painted half my arm violet for 3 days. But eventually I perfected it. A small pressure trigger capsule inside a cardboard box labeled Luxury Spa Products, Fragile. I added a hidden micro camera for proof. It was time. I knew Sophia's routine, 10:45 a.m., right after the mail carrier left. Thursday morning, I placed the decoy on my porch right in the camera's view. Then I sat inside, coffee in hand, watching through the blinds. Right on schedule, her white SUV rolled up. She got out, sunglasses on, phone to her ear, pretending to be busy like always. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed the box, smiled to herself, and walked off. I smiled too. The countdown had begun. 15 minutes later I heard it. A shriek, high-pitched, furious, echoing down the street. I looked out the window, and there she was. The mighty Sophia Wilson, standing on her driveway, covered head to toe in bright purple and neon yellow dye. Her perfect hair dripping her blazer ruined her face, a portrait of horror. George came out of his house laughing so hard he could barely hold his phone steady as he filmed. "You wanted proof. She couldn't wash off," he yelled. "You got it." Sophia screamed about lawsuits and chemical assaults while half the neighborhood peeked through their blinds. It was poetic justice in full color. Of course she tried to fight back. The next day, a man in a navy suit showed up at my door. "Mr. Davis," he said smoothly, handing me an envelope, "you've been served. Mrs. Wilson intends to sue for assault." I just smiled and said, "Tell her to check my porch camera." I sent the footage to the police every second of her stealing the box before it exploded. A week later they ruled it a property defense incident. No charges filed, but the damage to Sophia irreversible. The neighborhood Facebook group exploded. People shared screenshots, memes, captions like HOA Queen Goes Purple and Karma's Favorite Color. She tried to delete the posts, but screenshots live forever. By the time the emergency HOA meeting rolled around, she looked like a ghost, sunglasses scarf, the faint purple still visible under her skin. The room was packed, cameras out, everyone ready for blood. She slammed her gavel, voice shaking. "I have been unjustly humiliated by a resident who used a dangerous chemical device." George cut her off from the crowd. "You mean the one you stole?" Laughter rippled through the room. Mrs. Chen stood up holding a small folder. "You took my granddaughter's doll," she said softly. "You said you'd return it. You never did." Sophia's husband jumped up shouting about defamation, but the board treasurer interrupted him. "We conducted an internal audit. Over $57,000 in HOA funds are missing, checks signed by you, Mrs. Wilson." The room went silent. Sophia's face turned pale beneath the purple. "That's ridiculous," she shouted. "I am the HOA." A voice from the back replied, "You were?" The vote was unanimous. She was removed on the spot. The police were called in for financial misconduct. As she stormed out, someone whispered, "Still purple." Laughter followed her out the door. Within days, it hit the local news, then national. Purple-handed HOA president faces federal mail theft charges. Her mugshot was everywhere, the violet tint still faint on her skin. She tried to hide to spin the story, but the internet had already decided her fate. They found she'd been stealing mail for over a year, even embezzling HOA funds. She pled guilty, got probation, restitution, and community service. When she finally reappeared weeks later, her hair was darker, her eyes dull. I saw her once outside the courthouse. She looked right at me and whispered, "I just wanted order." I told her order without fairness isn't order, it's control. That was the last time I ever saw her. After she left, Maplewood felt different, lighter. No more fear, no more fake smiles. Mrs. Chen became the new HOA president and abolished the ridiculous fines. George took charge of neighborhood safety, mostly barbecues and poker nights. For the first time in years, people actually liked living here. I still check my doorbell camera sometimes, not because I expect trouble, but because it reminds me what happens when you stop staying silent. Sophia thought power came from rules and fear. She forgot that real power, real community comes from people who refuse to be intimidated. In the end, the die faded. The lawsuits vanished. The headlines disappeared. But one truth stuck with me every time I walked past that same porch where it all started. Some stains wash off your hands, others stay forever.